I just received the comment cards from the first screening of my new film, Tough Guys Don't Dance. Bold, innovative, wonderful. Stinks.
My power has been going like on and off all day, like for like brief spurts, but for some reason I never lose internet. So
okay.
We'll see. I think it's over, but we'll see.
All right. I mean, there's like winds knocking down like small trees in my neighborhood right now. Like, remember the last time we recorded, I said it's been really windy in LA? Like, it's still like that some days for some reason. Then other days it's like brushing up against 90 degrees. There's also a helicopter like 3 blocks away. I can kind of see it out my window right now. And they've been calling out for someone to come out for a while. So there's a lot of stuff going on, which is maybe the most suitable atmosphere to record an episode retrospective on the film Tough Guys Don't Dance for the Failed Awards retrospectives. Failed Award Contender retrospective.
Yeah, rolls right off the tongue.
Here
also,
on the Waffle Press podcast.
Apologies that this became our intro because I was also fumbling with my mic a little bit, so you're definitely going to have to edit around.
Nah, I'll just use the Zoom backup. No editing.
All right.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Do it live. Fuck it.
I hope
One
the
potato a man
situation
eats.
several blocks away is resolved peacefully. I'm your host,
Yes.
Diego Crespo.
I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure that the LAPD are only calling out for someone to like give them an award.
I'm not gonna make the worst possible jokes right now.
They're trying to award someone the key to the city. It's fine.
Oh, don't worry, that's just fireworks in the background.
Oh no.
That's my co-host, Macaringo. Sorry. Police brutality is not a joke.
Jesus Christ, Diego. Oh God. I mean, that's kind of related to the film.
I know. Tough Guys Don't Dance, the 1997 crime mystery comedy drama film written and directed by Norman Mailer, based on his own novel.
Pulitzer Prize-winning author Norman Mailer,
Mm-hmm.
a guy who once tried to murder his wife in public.
What?
Yes.
What is happening at the beginning of this episode?
Well, we kind of have to get out of the way that Norman Mailer, like, kind of sucked as a person.
I know nothing about Norman Mailer.
He is a Pulitzer Prize-winning writer, and he was, believe it or not, Diego, the guy who wrote Tough Guys Don't Dance, seemed to have a weird relationship with women.
I saw that coming.
And there's an entire documentary which is just him yelling at feminists called like Bloody Town Hall or something like that. He's one of those guys. What's the opposite? Like, you know, like how we talk about like certain artists or movies have been like reclaimed by people.
Yeah.
What is the opposite of that?
Discarded? We don't have a term for that yet. We haven't really gotten there.
Discarded is kind of just like abandoned, though. But it's like no, we drugged Norman Mailer back up to be like, fuck this guy, and then threw him away.
Oh, okay. Like,
that's what it feels like has happened here. I think it was one of those things where like he's one of those authors. He dealt with a lot of like overt like sexual themes and like talked about. He had like a lot of characters that were not very appealing. And I think people like later just kind of went like, oh, he was writing about himself. Like, which I don't even know how true that is. I'm not like a Norman Mailer expert, but there hasn't been a great push for me to actually read a lot of his material. I know Norman Mailer mostly from the documentary When We Were Kings about the Ali versus Foreman fight.
Oh, okay.
Because he's interviewed in that, and when you hear him talk, you get why he had the influence he had. Like he's honestly like a very poetic speaker and can like really get an image in your head and break shit down. And he's kind of fascinating, but like I think by most accounts was not a great person.
Yeah. Okay, so it's
also married like 7 times.
Oh,
like something crazy like that.
You see, James Cameron gets away with it because he makes shit like Titanic.
Yes. Norman Mailer made Tough guys don't
If
dance.
Norman Mailer made True Lies, then I think everyone would be okay with him. That's a joke.
No. This also, I'm not sure if you know this. This is not like a one and done film by Norman Mailer. He's directed like 3 other movies.
Before or after this?
Before.
That makes sense. Okay.
All were made before, and all of them are I've never seen them. The Criterion Collection put them out in like a Norman Mailer collection at one point.
That is incredible. I'm not gonna go on a huge tangent here, but that's super funny because the worst people on film Twitter are always like, that can't go in the Criterion Collection. They're selling out, and it's like, hey, sometimes you gotta sell out a little bit to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
That just like kills all the arguments of like elitism that people try to uphold with the Criterion Collection. That is amazing.
Well, doesn't the Criterion Collection, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe most of the Criterion Collection is made up of movies that like are basically given to them. Like they can't even really fight for what they want.
I don't know all the details about it. And I'm not shitting on the Criterion Collection. I'm shitting on the people that kind of hold them up as like the standard for cinema.
Yeah.
I don't always buy Criterions. I really look for stuff that has special features I can't get anywhere else. Like my long lost, now out of print Days of Heaven fucking Criterion. Yeah, it's killing. It's like $150 on eBay right now, and it just keeps going up. That's brutal. I'll get it one day when I sell my blood, I guess. But sorry, that was a weird tangent, but I just need to vent that out.
You never know. It might come back around and end up in the Criterion Collection again. Who knows?
Disney, Fox, or someone owns the right, so they pulled it.
Yeah, but who knows? Who knows where the culture's going?
You're right.
Like,
anything's possible.
I could see if Disney's like, we can make like $5 more if we did this. I could see them doing it, like when they're desperate because they've now all the IP has been drained.
Yeah, they'll keep trying to make other stuff though.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I just want to say, all of his earlier films are described as experimental and independent films from like the late 60s, and almost all of them, when I looked them up, because I haven't seen them, and I just like briefly looked them up on Letterboxd, and like all the top reviews are like 1 star, 1/2 star, like, so
yeah,
I don't know.
I think part of the reason so much of like our generation started rejecting like the older experimental films is because of stuff like this movie. For the people that did see it, right? When really like the great like experimental artists like Stan Brakhage and David Lynch, when he does his short films, like that's like true like experimental art. This feels like someone did a whole lot of cocaine and watched all of Twin Peaks. But this film was made in 1987. Twin Peaks doesn't come out for another 2 years.
A year after Blue Velvet. So
there it is. Never mind.
but the book that it is based on was from before. But I think there's definitely an influence.
Yeah, I mean, Isabella Rossellini's in it.
Yeah, and it's what's his name did the music.
Whoa, Angelo Badalamenti. Oh, yes, Angelo.
Yes. Yeah. So, and did you notice? Weird shit starts in this movie like right off the bat.
Mm-hmm. It's impossible not to notice.
Yeah, but it's like the opening credits are weird because one of the executive producers is Francis Coppola. And you're like, is this like someone trying to capitalize off the name? Like, why isn't it Francis Ford Coppola? And you Google it, and it is Francis Ford Coppola. But for some reason, he's credited as just Francis Coppola. And you're like, why?
Probably to hide involvement. But, the official production companies are Zoetrope Studios and Golden Globus. Now, we talked about Golden Globus before, going back to our Spider-Man episodes, and we just talk about Canon Films often, because they're very much films for people like us.
Yes.
Oh.
And for those who aren't in the know, Canon Films basically produce schlock. But, like, schlock that would make schlock go, like, holy shit.
Yeah, and you know what? A lot of it is real fun to watch.
Yes. A lot of it is just wild. If it's like a late night and you like everyone's kind of slap happy, it's a good movie to put on.
I mean, Tobe Hooper's career in the 80s is like almost exclusively Canon Films.
Yes, and they clearly just let him do whatever he
Yeah, which
wanted.
is why they all rock. Even the ones that aren't like great movies, they're totally worth checking out.
And it's weird that like Golden Globes are so weird because they like sucked at producing movies, kind of. Like they didn't produce a whole lot of quality, but they seem to have respect for certain artists because like all of Tobe Hooper's movies with them like bombed, but they kept giving him money, you know, which is kind of nuts. And this in particular is from that weird little window where Canon was trying to like court like auteur directors, and they produced some like big name films, and like including like I believe John Cassavetes' like second to last film was produced by Canon Films. Wow. And they really thought that they were eventually going to produce something that would win them an Oscar. And I think Tough Guys Don't Dance was probably caught up in that. And also Norman Mailer is famously in the King Lear adaptation that was made by Jean-Luc Godard, which was also produced by Canon Films. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
I believe Norman Mailer plays Norman Mailer in it. And he plays Norman Mailer and King Lear, and he like walked off the set after 2 days because him and Jean-Luc Godard didn't get along. So like all the footage that is in there is just what he had. That movie is like impossible to watch, and it also features Menachem Golan calling Jean-Luc Godard, a message he left on Jean-Luc Godard's phone, where he was just like, what the fuck are you doing? This movie's taking fucking too long. And that's like the opening credits to that movie.
Speaking of stuff that's impossible to watch, we should also mention that Tough Guys Don't Dance is basically impossible to watch unless you stumble upon it on YouTube in its full form, but I wouldn't recommend you do that ever. Of course not. Yeah. And a website called Screenpix.
Yeah.
Which we've never heard of, but...
We never heard of, but it was like, we almost did that, but then maybe we found another way to watch it that was currently mentioned. But, yeah, you can get it through Amazon Prime. Although, we are going to go through... My goal is to explain the plot of this movie.
Good luck.
To explain what the fuck happened. And I might have given up sometime in the last, 20 minutes. But I tried my damnedest. And so you do not need to watch this to understand this episode.
I would actually, for people that love discovering, just huge on-screen disasters, I think it's totally worth a watch.
It is worth
a single watch, maybe.
Maybe single watch, but I do think this movie kind of nears, The Room quality in terms of just befuddlement.
Yeah, and there are points of the movie where I was just like, okay, I can't keep up with it, and it does get a little dull. But I think we're even underselling just how fucking bizarre this is. Within 5 minutes, it is unbelievable.
The only way I was able to untangle it, and this is my second time watching it, so I've seen the fucking movie, because this was my suggestion for the show.
Yes, it was. And I was like, why the fuck did you do this?
We needed something to lighten the movie.
I don't regret this, by the way. I'm excited to keep talking about it, but you can always sort of tell how a movie's what a movie's gonna be like. Check out the opening credits. I got flashbacks to Star Trek V,
yes.
Which is William Shatner's director shot for that franchise. Mm-hmm. And when I was revisiting it for another Star Trek podcast I had done, go check it out at Talk Film Society. Everyone had a lot of fun over there, and it's just great to talk about Star Trek. But when I was rewatching for the first time, I was like, these images and these compositions are pretty good. I expected a lot worse. And then 5 minutes goes by, and you're still just cutting to separate rock climbing images in Star Trek V, and I was like, okay, dude, you got to start the movie now. Come on. This is what the end credits are for.
It almost gives this movie, a weird rhythm to it,
What about that? I'll let you finish.
I honestly am fascinated with writers who try to be directors. like, it's usually more pronounced with, like, someone like when Stephen King tried to direct a movie. Or, like, Clive Barker is, like, very successful at that with, like, his horror films. But there's something to them, like, not understanding the filmmaking first. Like, they're writers first and foremost. Not, like, script is king writers, but, like, descriptive and, like, how you can kind of structure stuff non-linearly. And it leads to, I think, fascinating results that kind of lead to, like, moments where you're like, this is kind of, like, accidentally inspired, you know?
Yeah.
And I think there are moments in this, but, like, not enough to save the film. Although this is definitely a movie that someone on film Twitter will give 5 stars. Like, it is 100% that.
A little, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I'll say there are definitely moments of, like, atmosphere and mood, you know? Like maybe it's just because of that's how, like, movies used to be made, like, with certain film stocks, and the lighting equipment was so different. Like, here's the thing about, like, people saying, like, movies don't look like movies now, which I am also guilty of. It's definitely reliant on, like, the new lighting and cameras that we use, and certain people not understanding how to utilize them differently. You know, like, the John Wick movies use a lot of the same equipment that other generic action movies do. Now, what separates John Wick from being generic is the incredible talent involved, from the page to behind the camera to the people in front of the camera. And also knowing how to frame fight scenes and utilize lighting for dramatic purposes. You know? And other people just can't figure that out. And so I think Tough Guys Don't Dance has, like, you know, it's like, okay, they can, whoever did the lighting on this, like, good job. There you go.
I don't know if I'm just gonna go. I'm not sure if I'm gonna say.
Okay, maybe not good job, but like, okay, you made a movie.
But, like, I don't know how to explain this, but, like, the way Provincetown is shot in this, it's, I feel like anything I could say would give the movie more credit than I'm trying to give it. Like, it's not dreamlike, but it's, like, almost like a weird nostalgia to it, if that makes sense. Like,
that I'd agree with that, and I would say, like, dreamlike. It definitely feels like something I dreamt up in a fever dream. Like, I think that's the thing. Like, not in an exciting or positive manner. It's just like, what the fuck was that about? Like, that's really the extent of positivity I think you and I can both give the film, right?
Maybe, but, like, to me, there's something to it where it's like, when I was younger, I went to the beaches around Delaware a lot, which is very different than Provincetown, of course. But, you know, like, how you have, like, like, moments from your childhood you know happen, but, like, in your mind you only have, like, very, like flash memories of it, you know? Like, you can only kind of remember a single moment, and then they all kind of blend together, so, like, you don't know if it was a separate occasion or the same occasion. And then you see pictures of yourself at, like, the beach or something, and you're like, I don't remember this picture being taken, I don't remember this day, but there's photographic proof that it happened. Tough Guys Don't Dance gives me a similar feeling to that in some moments. And I think maybe beaches just do it for me like that. Like, it might not be anything to do with the film itself. But there's something mesmerizing about it. I don't think either of us will deny that.
Yeah.
And that's where I got to get 2 things across before we start going into the plot. One is that there were uncredited rewrites. Oh, no, I think credited rewrites by Robert Towne, who wrote Chinatown, which might explain some of the weirdness to it. And the other thing is, I'm going to make a comparison here, and I have to be very careful with how I phrase it, because I'm about to compare the experience of watching this film to the work of another filmmaker, and I'm not trying to equate the morality of this film or the morality of the filmmaker. Like, by all accounts, the person whose name I'm about to throw out is a good guy. But if you want to know how I feel when I sit down to watch a Zack Snyder film, watch Tough Guys Don't Dance. The stuff this movie did to my brain is exactly what Zack Snyder films do to me. I just gotta be honest.
Wow.
Yeah, and again, I'm not trying to equate, like, on a moral level. Just, like, the weird, like, every sentence, like, has a meaning to it, but also is something no one in history has ever said. Like, and I will say, to watch this, like I said, I took 4 pages of detailed notes on the plot of this movie, so we'd be ready for this episode. To get those 4 pages, this is a movie that is just under an hour and 50 minutes. To do that, it took 2 nights of watching this movie in 2 separate 2-hour chunks. Because I kept having to pause the movie to write down what was happening. And that was the only way for me to keep up with it. I'm assuming you just went through it in one go.
I did just go through it in one go. And
which is
I think that's what made it like entertaining to me. Because I was very entertained. It is a flabbergasting experience, though.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to start.
Let's start at the very beginning.
Yeah, like I mentioned, the opening credits go on for like a long, long while.
Well, it opens with Ryan O'Neal, who is playing a guy named Tim, right? Mm-hmm. Tim Madden. He says something like, "I keep saying to myself, death is a celebration." Now, Diego, having watched the film, do you know what that means?
No, because this is a murder mystery, and I don't get the sense that there's like the film's heading in any specific direction with that opening line. You know, sometimes a movie can open and the opening lines aren't like that important. You know, they'll still inform you of character or like the state of the world we're about to experience, right? But sometimes they're very specific, and other times they're not. They're just
sometimes they give a thesis statement on the film you're about to watch, you know?
And I feel like this film tried to do that thesis statement, for sure. I could not tell you what it was, though.
I might have an answer, but I'm going to have to read my notes again. So we'll see if we find one by the end. Mm-hmm. We get... It's a lot of shots of New England landscapes. Yeah. Like... It goes to the point where my notes are literally like, New England landscapes, all caps, tough guys don't dance, and then more New England landscapes.
Tim, when he wakes up and he walks down, he's very defensive. We don't know what's happened, why he's so defensive.
Yeah, he gets I think he gets like a fire poker or something.
Yeah, and then he walks into his kitchen and he meets...
he sees Lawrence Tierney and like immediately gets relaxed, which is something that has never happened to someone who woke up and found Lawrence Tierney in their house.
Yeah, now, if you don't know who Lawrence Tierney is, Elaine's dad from Seinfeld. He's only in one episode.
Because they never brought him back because he was such a nut.
Yeah. Also, more commonly known, I think, for people as The Thing from Reservoir Dogs. That's not his character's name, but he's referred to as The Thing. Motherfucker looks like The Thing.
Yeah.
And that is incredibly accurate.
Yeah, and he was also someone where, like, I think him and, like, Tarantino got in a fist fight on that movie.
That makes total sense.
Which who knows what that even means. But,
yeah.
And I think Lawrence Tierney had to be bailed out of prison to film, like, his last few scenes.
Yeah.
Because he got drunk and fired a gun at, like, his son's, like, apartment.
Jesus Christ, yeah. He had a lot of personal issues.
A lot of demons. And it says a lot that he seems to very clearly be the Norman Mailer, like, stand-in in the film. Mm. Like, I think Norman Mailer is, like, this is the author surrogate character. So, yeah, Lawrence Tierney is Tim's father. And he's like, you've been acting weird. And it's like, well, it's not going to get any better from here. And we find out that Tim's wife, Patty Lorraine, left him 28 days ago. Did he... I can't remember the opening shot. Did he do the shaving cream thing yet?
Not in the opening shot, I don't think.
Okay. And Lawrence Tierney says, you married the wrong gal. That's all. You should have married the other one. It's like, oh boy. And then he says, all right, here's like I wrote down every line that like kind of jumped out at me.
So you just wrote
like,
the script?
What? Yes. So we're going to be here a while. No. So here's a line from Lawrence Tierney. So I apologize for what I'm about to say. Oh, God. It's going to happen a few times, because the wildest line in this movie is, like, also the worst thing I've ever heard. But he says, certain dame should wear a t-shirt that says, hang around, I'll make a cocksucker out of you. Which is the first, like, homophobic reference in the film. There's a lot of... This movie wrestles with masculinity, Diego.
Does it?
And when you think about it, that's all this movie really is. It's a statement about masculinity, and that's why it's genius.
I'm here to have fun. I'm getting very upset right now. No, I definitely, like, everything we're going to talk about, like, what we think the movie's about, it's definitely going to try to be that. It's just, you know, here's another basic comparison. It reminds me of rewatching David Lynch's Dune, where it's like, there are moments in there where I'm like, you know, there might be something here in more capable hands, or, like, if a production had run more smoothly. We know David Lynch is capable of, like, masterpieces. I don't think Norman Mailer ever was.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know enough about Norman Mailer, but yeah, there's a lot of references to homosexuality in this film, which seems to be a popular thing of a lot of the writers of his generation. Like, that seemed to be a thing, which I think they try to frame it as like an interrogation of masculinity, but whenever I see it, it always seems to just come back around to being like, and this is why men are the way they are.
Dudes rock?
Which... No. No, but it's like, it's usually comes down very hard on dudes suck, but there's nothing you can do about it. So stop trying to fight it.
Boys will be
It
boys.
was like immediately after that statement, Lawrence Tierney says he was always worried that Tim would, quote, turn out queer, and says his mother babied him too much. And then Tim mentions that he was in prison for 3 years, and he says, I was in prison for 3 years, but never turned, quote unquote, punk. Which, you know,
yeah, it's awful.
I'm assuming everyone knows what that means. All right. And now, you know how, like, movies, you're kind of waiting for, like, the title drop to happen? Mm-hmm. This one happens within the first 5 minutes. Because then Lawrence Tierney, I can't even remember what prompts it. Oh, Lawrence Tierney starts drinking, and his son's like, you're supposed to stop drinking. Like, why are you drinking? And Lawrence Tierney goes, 6 months ago they told me to stop or I was dead. I stopped. Now the spirits circle around my bed and tell me to dance. I tell them tough guys don't dance. They answer me, keep dancing.
What are we, some kind of tough guys don't dance? No, the escalation of dialogue in this is honestly kind of worth commending, because it makes no sense. But and like the way we're going to be describing it, because my favorite part, when I knew I was at least going to enjoy this movie, is the flashback scene we lead into. But like, it really is just one of the most bizarre things.
There's flashbacks inside of flashbacks.
Yeah, the first one, when Tim is like, "Oh, it was one crazy idiotic summer." It's like I've never heard someone describe the summer that way, but okay.
Immediately cut to like a coke party happening.
And then the one woman's like, "Oh, that's my boyfriend." She immediately disrobes, and then she opens the door and she's like, "Oh, sorry," because it's not her boyfriend. It's Wings Hauser.
Wings Hauser, who you people have to guess, but will be making another appearance on our retrospective series.
Wait, does he?
Yeah, he does.
Don't tell me. I'm gonna look it up right now.
He has one scene in one movie we're planning on doing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Rubber, of course.
Yeah, Wings Hauser, in his full police chief uniform, as Alfred Luther Regency, a.k.a. Mr. Regency. And he comes in on this coke party to address a noise complaint or something like that. And they go like, "Nah, come on, stay." And he gets talked into staying as long as they like keep the music down. And we very clearly see a scene where like all the coked up maniacs are dancing, but guess who isn't dancing? Mr. Regency.
Oh, because he's a tough guy.
Because he's a tough guy, and he walks over to Tim, who is also sitting on the stairs, not dancing. And we kind of get there's some, I can't tell if like they sit down and then immediately into this conversation, or if the movie's trying to imply they like talked all night or something.
I'm
like
not
that.
sure too, because it's like this weird crossfade where they're not talking to each other, and I don't think they knew each other before this, right?
It's hard to tell.
And then
there's one character who we'll get to who feels like was like just introduced out of nowhere. It turns out had a relationship with Tim, like going back to like their school days.
I know it's really a lot to keep track of. Like we can't parse too much out of it. We do have to explain it, but we can't parse through too much through it because I think our brains will melt out of our ears. But yeah, the crossfade into like them just talking on the stairs, I was like, whoa, wait, whoa. This is kind of a lot to throw at someone. Immediately followed by Patty Lorraine coming down the stairs and blowing a trumpet.
Yeah, and Tim says like these parties aren't for me, they're for Patty Lorraine, and then she starts just playing the trumpet on the stairs. And the shot doesn't change, by the way. It's so strange. And I think this is when he says, "You trying to wake up all the ghosts in Helltown?" Which you're like, what? And it takes you a minute. You're like, okay, Provincetown, Helltown is the opposite of Provincetown, I guess. But like, who talks like this? Yeah,
it's such a stretch, you know?
And then do you remember what Patty Lorraine says next?
Oh, I don't.
All right, you ready for this one? I can't remember what exactly leads into it, but I think because she's a blonde.
Oh, yeah.
Someone asks, I think Mr. Regency asks if she's like a natural blonde or something, and this is exactly what she says. Again, apologies. This is what the episode is gonna be. She goes, "My pussy hair was bright gold in high school until I went out and scorched it with the football team."
I don't even. Script doctored by Robert Towne, everyone.
This is the first. This is the first named female character in the film with any lines. Yeah. The first, I think, line is given to that woman who just immediately gets naked, and then this is the other character.
Yeah, which I don't know what the nakedness, like, I guess people do weird stuff on coke. I've never done it. I don't know, but, yeah. Like, I assume everyone just gets all, like, wired up, right? But
this is,
I never seen anyone strip publicly from it.
It's hard to tell if this is something Norman Mailer might have witnessed at a coke party he went to, or if this is something he always wished happened at a coke party he went to. I don't even know how to get to this, because like almost immediately after that the party like ends, and then we just cut to Halloween, where Patty Lorraine has talked him into performing a seance because they want to communicate with two dead women who were murdered in Provincetown.
Now, is that flashback a flash forward from the original flashback? I don't remember. I remember the scene, but I don't remember how they get there.
No, this has to be forward because it's October 31st, and we're told at some point that Patty Lorraine left him like the day after, November 1st.
Yeah, see, all this stuff like blends together, but we're going to be talking about like all the weird shit in it. I want to talk about one of my other favorite moments in the movie, when they flash forward back to Tim and his dad talking, and he's like, "We had to perform a seance," or no, I don't want to talk about it. And then immediately he's like, "At Halloween we performed a seance," and it's like, whoa,
yeah.
Like, that is about, I believe, 10 minutes into the film. All of what we just described is the first 10 minutes of the film.
Yes, it's wild. Like we have,
and it doesn't stop.
And it's one of those things, again, like, I'm sorry to make the Zack Snyder comparison, but it's just like, when I see his movies, like, stuff will happen in them, and I go like, is this going to be important, or is this just something he thought would be cool to put in the movie? You know? Like, I have that a lot, and this is one of those things where I'm like, this all can't be important, and it turns out it is. The seance ends up being one of the most important things, and it's like a very brief, weird scene.
You're damn right we're going to have a seance. Because those two dead horrors keep whispering to me.
Oh, yes. Also, Patty Lorraine called herself a witch earlier, which I'm guessing, I don't know.
Like, that's the thing. Is it just like rich white people kind of like proclaiming these things, or are we genuinely supposed to believe that she has practiced like witchcraft in the universe of this film.
Yeah. But I also think it's Norman Mailer trying to be like, look, I'm a literary scholar guy, because there's a lot of this plot ends up being driven by, like, trying to avoid what the seance revealed for Patty Lorraine, which, you know, is like a classic, like, trope from, like, mythology and shit. Like, and but, like, why? You didn't need it.
The funniest fucking thing is when they finally cut to it, and I know it's like I'm sure it's like a witchcraft pose or something like that. I don't know anything about actually, like, people trying witchcraft, but it's the goofiest fucking cut, because she macks on Tim for a second to calm him down or whatever, and then they cut to her with her arms raised like a T pose, and it was like, whoa. like I think people assume editing is like a lost art form, and it's like, no, there've always been movies that have been poorly edited, because, like, the cut from that kiss to that pose is really jarring. It might be one of the most jarring cuts I've ever experienced, and there's a lot of that in this movie, like every 5 to 10 minutes.
All right, so after the seance, Patty Lorraine is like, all right, I'm leaving you, Tim. And she's leaving Tim for her driver named Bolo. I'm only bringing this up because there's a shot in this where she's like leaving the room, and she goes, Bolo! And I was like, what does that mean? And then it's like, oh, that's the guy's name. And we find out that Tim was her driver at one point. And so there's like a weird, like cyclical nature of things, like, which it also feels like Provincetown is kind of like supposed to be like this purgatory of sorts, and like Tim is like stuck going in this loop. But he talks to Bolo and says they used to be your driver, and that the real reason Patty Lorraine is leaving is because she wanted him to kill her husband, but he said he couldn't do it. And the husband's name, I don't believe they say his name yet, but I'm just going to throw it out there because you can't follow the plot unless I say his name now. Her ex-husband, Wardley Meeks III, who will come back into the plot, played by the guy who he's in The Abyss. You remember that?
No, but I haven't seen The Abyss in years.
He's the guy who he ends up in a coma for most of the movie. Because he had, like, an underwater freak out, and then, like, later when he wakes up, he's like, I just thought I was dying when that angel came at me. And, yeah, I think that's the only other film of note he's really done.
What are you talking about? He did Super Troopers.
Oh, okay. You know what? I've never seen Super Troopers.
I haven't either. I'm just looking at his Wikipedia.
I know some people, like, swear by that fucking movie.
Yeah, but sometimes people swear by shit that they saw when they were, like, 10, and they have blinders on. Which is fine.
Like
which is
stupid
fine.
Shit, so maybe it's fine. All right, what happens next?
Well, when she's leaving with the chauffeur, and Tim asks, like, where she's going, and she's like, to the moon, baby. And he's like, you need your chauffeur on the moon? And it's like, I understand this is supposed to be, like, kind of banter almost, but it just doesn't feel like human at all. It feels like an alien trying to decipher how people talk.
He's trying to do a film noir type thing, you know? Like, it feels like that's what they're going for with it. Especially with, like, but basically it's a film noir where every single woman is a femme fatale. Yeah. And, like, simultaneously, like, pure evil, but also stupid. Which might say a lot.
Yeah. Now, do you remember what she says about her chauffeur?
No.
After he says, you need your chauffeur on the moon. And she's like, yes, I do. I need a big black chauffeur.
Oh, yeah.
Apologies.
Yeah.
This whole episode is nothing but an apology to mankind.
I probably didn't write that one down for a reason.
Yeah.
And then Tim in voiceover says something like, how I hated Patty Lorraine's all-superior fuck you face. She had been the biggest addiction of my life. Pure love. Pure hate. Which, again, that's like, it feels like they're trying to be like film noir. Like, all right. Sorry, I have to I have to read ahead a little bit just so I don't get too confused by my own goddamn
No,
notes.
that's totally fine. Because we could pull scenes apart for half an hour each and just talk about what the fuck happened in them. We shouldn't.
All right,
I would like this to be under 5 hours.
I will try to make this as fast as possible, but I'm also going to note when we hit certain marks in the film.
Yeah.
So after that, we cut back to Tim and Lawrence Tierney, and Lawrence Tierney's like, "I know you're not telling me everything. I know you. I know when you're lying." And Tim reveals that there are 2 bodies in his basement, and Lawrence Tierney's like, "Who are they?" Tim doesn't know, says he didn't do it, but also says that he's been having blackouts lately. All right, now the non-linear stuff is about to get wild. It feels like Robert Towne might have come in and added this element of him doing the shaving cream on the mirror, because that's literally the only way you can tell what the fuck is happening in what order. Because we immediately cut to Tim doing day 24, and like he said, it's on the 28th. He says it's been 28 days since Patty Lorraine left me when he first sees Lawrence Tierney. Now, if you happen to miss that one line, you're going to be very confused. But so it's 24. Puts on he writes in shaving cream on the mirror, and he says this was the worst bender of my life these next 5 days. And he goes to a bar where he meets a former pornographic actress named Jessica Pound and her rich husband, Lonnie Pangborn.
Yeah, this one's all you.
Well, they talk for a bit. He tells I should have written the joke down because I forgot that her laugh was going to end up being important. Somehow they start talking, and they're clearly there waiting for something, and she's kind of annoyed. It feels like Jessica's kind of the one in charge, and her husband's kind of subservient. She brings up New England pirates for some reason, and she says, "In certain houses you can still hear the screams of dead sailors." Again with the weird ghost references. Again, where I think he's trying to say something about Provincetown being hell or purgatory or something. Tim tells a joke that makes her let out a wild fucking laugh. And then it kind of reveals that they might be here. They're kind of swingers, and they kind of rope Tim into being their third. To which they cut to a scene where Tim is having sex with Jessica, and Lonnie Pangborn is just watching them openly weeping.
That was a shocking cut. Another shocking cut. It just keeps happening.
And it was hard to tell if it was a cuckolding thing or if something else had happened, which I think that's deliberate, but still.
Yeah, because it's what is the dynamic between Tim and this couple? Because the way they approach him, I agree with you. It seems more like an open form relationship. And then the cut to him weeping, he's like, "In the name of decency, would you let me speak?
Would someone let me speak?"
We are now approximately 20 minutes into the film when this happens.
Are we really?
Yeah.
Oh dear God.
Sorry.
And then that kind of does I think it fades to black on that guy's weeping face. If I remember correctly, either fades or cuts.
No,
to
it does, because I remember this is another establishing shot of the New England area, and I was like, oh, that actually looks kind of nice. It looks like a postcard. And then we're back to the movie, and I was like, oh yeah.
Well, now it's day 25, so there's where the blackout period was. Tim wakes up. He has a tattoo that says Madeline, which is the name of his first wife, but he has no memory of getting it. He goes out to his Jeep and finds a bloody shirt in the Jeep, and immediately panics, wipes off the blood, and goes back to his house and throws the shirt in his washing machine. He then gets a call from Mr. Regency, the cop, and tells him you should go check, like, hey, what were you up to last night? He was like, nothing. He's like, you should really go check out your Jeep. It's like, oh no, someone saw me do something, but he doesn't know what. We have to talk about how Mr. Regency, from like the moment he walks on screen, like, you know what this guy's deal is.
Yeah.
Like, there's like, try to play with like some ambiguity of like, oh, maybe Tim really did do a crime. And it's like Mr. Regency, like, his eyes are always bugged out and he looks like Satan. And it's like, no, it's like, whatever's going to happen, this guy is going to frame. Like, it's clear that Mr. Regency is part of some attempt to frame him. And the fact that that is so obvious and other things are so, like, baffling, it just makes it all more confusing. Because you're like, are we not supposed to know this? So, like, I guess neighbors saw that he had blood in the car, and he goes, like, you should really go check out your marijuana patch. Which I guess is a thing that he has. We do know that Tim used to, like, trade drugs, but, like, the marijuana patch is only just brought up in this moment. So, on orders, Tim goes to his marijuana patch, and lo and behold, what the fuck does he find in it but a woman's severed head. We don't see the face, but we see the hair, and it's blonde, which is the same hair color as Jessica, the pornographic actress he had sex with in front of the weeping man.
Fucking movie. Less than half an hour in. Just wanted to remind everyone that. He
goes to Mr. Regency, and they start talking about, like, oh, where were you last night? It's a kind of like classic bullshit. And Mr. Regency says, you know me, I like marijuana. I like them homegrown, puts feathers on my ass.
I don't know what that means.
No, I don't either. And then Mr. Regency asks him for probing questions, and Tim's response is, you just want to tickle my stick?
And it's like, again, with the weird homophobic angle on this.
Yeah, and that's just going to be a recurring thing, unfortunately.
Yeah.
All right, now it is now day 26. We know because of the shaving cream. The owner of the bar comes to Tim and asks him, "Hey, you know that couple you were talking to? Well, their car is still in my parking lot. Have you seen them?" And Tim's like, "Nah, I don't know what happened with them." And here's a part of the movie that I was confused by. Tim goes to see the guy who did the seance for some reason. At first, I didn't put together who the guy was. And he's also a junkie. He's on drugs. They get some, like, this is what junkies are like in Norman Mailer's mind.
When they go to the house, it's fucking hysterical.
Yeah. And then they're, like, watching sports, I think, or something, and, like, getting way too into it, but also talking like they don't know what they're watching, because maybe they couldn't get the footage approved yet. I don't know.
Yeah, no, you just see them from, like, behind a door.
Yeah. And there we find the guy who did the tattoo. And he's like, you came in, man, you were all crying, you were saying, Madeline, I wronged you. Boo-hoo-hoo.
Oh, but really quick, just backtrack a second. So, did Tim fuck that woman in the parking lot of the bar?
I think that's what that shot was implying.
Okay.
But
yeah, no, I guess that you could do that. You shouldn't.
I mean, it's supposed to be like the middle of the night in a small town. Maybe that's something it's easier to get away with. Also, the seance guy says that, like, he's like, what'd you see in the seance? Which feels like something maybe would have been discussed on the night of the seance. Mm-hmm. And he says that he saw Patty Lorraine dead with her head cut off. Remember, Patty Lorraine also had blonde hair. So it's like two blondes thing. Again, it's like they're trying to do noir shit. Like, Mr. Regency, I can't remember if Mr. Regency calls him or what, or if just, like, picks him up. He picks him up at one point, but Mr. Regency reveals that they found Pangborn. He was in the trunk of his car in the parking lot, and he had shot himself. At least that's what the evidence seems to imply. They also found on him a letter written to Wardley Meeks III, who I will say his full name every time we bring him up.
That's an incredible name.
And the letter kind of reveals that Wardley Meeks III and Pangborn were like secret gay lovers. And then this is when Mr. Regency reveals that he married Tim's former wife, Madeline, at some point. There's a shot, there's an incredible acting moment where he lifts up a wallet, like with the picture that's supposed to be his wife and 2 kids, and he just goes, us. And it's like, whoa. And Tim kind of reacts like funny to like the knowledge that like they have 2 kids together. Okay, so all of that was the first 30 minutes of the movie.
And then we flash back even further.
Yes. So no more shaving cream on the walls. we flash back to when Tim and Madeline first met. And they lived in New York 8 years ago. They seemed to hit it off one night, and then we immediately cut to like kind of a rut in their marriage. And Tim like wants to be a writer. He's not really writing anything. This is all right. This is really baffling. So Tim's like, I read an article in Screw magazine about a Christian couple that want a couple swap for like an evening. Which, if I was like, you know what I should float to my wife? The idea that we should go couple swapping. I would maybe have more tact than being like, hey, I was reading the pornographic magazine Screw Magazine, and I saw this, and I think this would be a great idea. And then 2, maybe not the first thing I would turn to if I was trying to deal with a rut in our marriage. And we see the picture, and the picture is of a preacher named Big Stoop, played by Penn Jillette.
Your boy.
Penn Teller. My boy Penn Jillette. And his wife, Patty Lorraine. So Patty Lorraine used to be married to Big Stoop, which is the only name he's ever given. They all call him Big Stoop. And we just immediately cut to Tim having sex with Patty Lorraine, and you can hear Big Stoop and Madeline having sex in the other room.
Yeah, I need to talk about when they cut to them in bed, though. Because they're both under this big pink sheet, and Patty Lorraine pops her heads up like, oh, that was amazing, or whatever. And then Tim pops his head up, and it looks like they were like 69ing. But
yeah.
I don't think they were trying to show that. I think it's just like an accident. And it's like, why would you do that? Like,
that does feel like something Nora Mailer might try to do.
I mean, maybe, but then it's also like, I don't know. It also doesn't look like anyone was actually having sex, obviously, which is like fine. Plenty of movies don't have good sex scenes. But it's so weird already, this movie, that it keeps tossing weird wrenches into the woodwork like that. And then you stick with them because you're like, why was that done that way? Like,
yeah,
the bed looks moderately, like, accessible, but there's this one big sheep with 2 people under it who come out of it in the most awkward positions possible. And it's killing me. I don't understand.
Yeah, and it's literally, like, we cut from, like, hey, I'm just going to toss out this idea that we should go couple swapping, to them in bed. And then we don't know, like, for all we know, Tim went down there and just, like, had sex with Patty Lorraine. Like, there's no, like, scene where maybe they meet or something. I don't know. It's so jarring. And then just on top of that to be like, are they 69? Like, it's just, it keeps getting more and more baffling. And remember, they're a Christian couple. So we immediately cut to the next day in church, where like Tim and Madeline have been like dragged along to the church. Oh, did we mention who Madeline is played by?
That's the Isabella Rossellini character.
Isabella Rossellini, yeah. Who does the best she can with the material.
An iconic European actress, fantastic. Also appeared on a couple seasons of Alias. for the Alias stands out there that listen to the show for me. Yeah, she does what she can. And she's better in literally everything else she's ever been in.
Oh, I'm looking at my notes real quick. Sorry. All right, so next day at church, Big Stoop is giving like a speech. And he said, I had a vision of the end times. It should be mentioned that Penn Jillette does not have a southern accent.
You're just doing that.
No, in the movie he does.
Oh, yeah.
And it does not sound authentic. And neither does Patty Lorraine's, frankly. It's all over the place. Penn Jillette is from New England. So it's a little weird.
Yeah, so why does he have the southern accent?
I
guess they're supposed to be from the South, though. That's why.
Yeah. Well, see, they went down south, which is another thing. We immediately go from New York to down south. Like, it's all over the place. You don't just drive down south on a whim.
Yeah, also, I'm going to be completely honest. I did not get that at all from the movie. I'm discovering this right now.
That's the best way to discover it.
I thought it was all still in like the Northeast. Oh wow. What a gift this film is. Okay, let's keep going.
Yes. But he said, I had a vision of the end times. I saw two women grinding corn. Which is a passage from the Bible. I believe grinding corn shows up a few times in the Bible, and people consider it like a metaphor for like sex, but other people say it's like that's what women's work is, quote unquote, grinding corn. Which again, then it's like there's like a double thing to it where it's like, oh, grinding corn is women's work, and it's women's work to kind of service men. You know, it's kind of one of those like gross passages from the Bible. And I believe the passages. This is the one I wrote down anyway. It's from Luke 17:34. I tell you, in the night there shall be two men in one bed. One shall be taken, and the other shall be left. Two women shall be grinding corn. The one shall be taken, the other left. And it's kind of a passage about the rapture and the end times, at least by some interpretations. And it's kind of seen as like the trivial matters of earth don't matter. It's who believes in the people who take Jesus into their heart are the ones that will be saved. And it's this weird way that like Penn Jillette is like up on stage like giving this speech, and he's kind of like chastising the couple he just had sex with, which is so strange. I
was looking at my note for an upcoming scene. It's the funniest fucking part of the movie, but we'll get there in just a second. Sorry.
But I honestly, like, again, like, there's a lot of, like, religious shit thrown around in this. I have no idea how it all is supposed to come together.
I don't know. If we're going back to, like, the purgatory thing, then maybe there's something there. But this is, like, a Mr. Fantastic level stretch to try to make sense of a film that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
So then...
well, then they finish the service by singing Just As I Am, which I'm assuming is in there because... it was a very popular altar song for Billy Graham in the 80s. An altar song is supposed to be about like a new spiritual commitment to Jesus. I just feel like is Norman Mailer trying to say something about like televangelism in the 80s?
Maybe, but then this is the only section of the film where that's kind of important, right?
Yeah.
Important in quotation marks.
Yes.
Okay, so they're leaving the church, and Patty Lorraine's like, I'm going to leave the big guy. I want to go be a stewardess, and
oh, yeah,
I'll marry you.
She says, I have a whole, like, she has a vision. She has a whole plan. She, like, goes up to Tim and is like, what do you want to be? He's like, I want to be a writer. She's like, I'm going to ditch Big Stoop, I want to become an airline stewardess, find and marry a rich man, divorce him, come back and find you, and we'll be able to support you in your writing career.
Tim Madden has to be the horniest character in all of cinematic history.
Also, I'm only now just putting this together, but like, so his name's Tim Madden. Her name is Madeline. Is there any connection there?
I don't think so.
Is he trying to say something about the fluidity of gender?
Whoa, I don't.
I'm just.
I just saw Kenneth Branagh's Dead Again, so that if we're talking like older films that might actually tackle that subject, everyone go watch Kenneth Branagh's Dead Again, which is fantastic.
It's just, again, this is a movie where characters are named Mr. Regency and Wardley Meeks III. Like, all these names like have meaning. Like, it just feels a little pointed, but I can't tell as to what. Like, everything is pointed. Every line, every scene, it feels like it's like this is important, but like you can never fucking pick it apart and figure out as to what.
You know what it kind of reminds me of? It's when like a writer or someone will try to come up with like a version of their real life story, and they'll start explaining like, well, this has to be in there because it happened in real life, and it's like, no, it doesn't. Like, if you're gonna do that, you need to make a documentary. You don't write fiction. You know, like, just because it happened in real life doesn't mean it's gonna make compelling drama to watch. Like, I'm sorry, our lives just are not that interesting. That's why we have movies. All right, what the fuck was I gonna say? Okay, so Patty Lorraine. Oh yeah, Tim Madden's the horniest person on the planet, because if you buy into what Patty Lorraine just told him, like, I don't even know how to explain like what's wrong with your penis at that point.
Now, is this a point where we should? Are we supposed to be going like maybe Tim's an unreliable narrator? He is a former cocaine addict that has blackouts. Like,
maybe, but the thought never even crossed my mind because I was assaulted by everything else that happened in the film, though.
And I'm telling you right now, that thought just came across my mind. I did not have it while I was watching the film.
But okay, can we get to the next scene, because this is the good stuff?
Yeah, you want to talk about this
Yeah,
scene?
okay, so then Madeline starts getting into a fight with Tim on the drive back home, and she's like, you guys gonna like run away together, and she's totally calling it as it is, like he's falling for Patty Lorraine, and they're gonna end up together, and she starts like getting slap happy with him in the car, and they get into a car accident, and for a second I thought like, oh my god, is there gonna be like a coma subplot in this now? And no, there's not. But Madeline is
something
in the hospital.
even worse happens.
Yes. And so they're still arguing as she's kind of coming back to wakeness. And she's like, do you have any coke? And Tim's like, should you be doing that in here? Which is my reaction to the movie. It's the first human reaction I felt from another person on screen. And she doesn't even really address that. She's just like, oh, why do you always like get away with it? And he's like, I'll never get caught. Immediate cut to him in a prison cell.
Him in prison. It's like a comedy shot.
It was so
but you missed you missed two things.
I probably did.
When they crash, she starts slapping him and she's screaming like, because I'm crazy, because this country's crazy. And that's what caused him to wreck the car. But what did the accident do?
Oh, it killed their baby or whatever, right?
No, it destroyed her
There
womb,
you go, that one.
And so she can't have children. So that's why it's weird when Mr. Regency showed the picture where he had like their two children in it. If you even remember.
No.
With everything that's happening.
This is a lot of movie. Again, we're going to miss some things.
Like immediately go, you're right, it's immediate. It's 100% immediate too. It's Timmy like, I never get caught, and he's in prison.
What are you in for?
Yeah, cocaine. Like, which we were told that at some point we were told he was in prison for 3 years. So when we see him outside of prison, I guess we're supposed to immediately put together that it's been 3 years. And he's now sweeping up at a bar. Oh, I think he does have a line where like he's sweeping up, and then like the bar's kind of closing, and he gets a drink, and he's like, "This is the first drink I've had in 3 years," which is like, I guess that's a way to impart that information, but it's also implying that Tim was like, he drinks. We know that about him. He's been thinking about drinking the whole time he was in prison. But as soon as he got out, the first thing he thought to do was to get a job. Then decided to work on that job for at least one full evening, and then have his first drink out of prison.
Also, even at a bar, maybe don't drink on the job. Like, yeah. I guess in like the reality of this film, that makes about as much sense as anything else. But all I have to latch onto for my sanity is to relate to stuff in real life when I watch this now.
And then the bartender says something to him, which I can't tell if it's him trying to call him out for drinking on the job or if it means nothing. Because this is the exact delivery. So he says that where he has a drink. He's like, "This is the first drink I've had in 3 years." The bartender looks at him and goes, and he leans in on the last line. He goes, "You want a quarter for the jukebox?" And then they just walk away.
Yeah, like, what What is that?
It's like no one delivers lines like a person ever would. And none of it is consistent enough to be like, oh, this is like deliberately arch. Like everyone feels like they're in their own insane movie. But who should be at the bar that night? But fucking Patty Lorraine. And she's all dressed up in like nice clothing, and he's like, "So I guess you married your rich man," and she's like, "Yep. When I tell you when I tell you who, you're gonna puddle in your pants." And she reveals she married Wardley Meeks III, who I think this is the moment where it is revealed that he's a former schoolmate of Tim's, but it was such a like passing line, I didn't even pick up on it. Like, when it's revealed later, I kind of went back and like went looking for it, but I think this is the moment where she says that Wardley Meeks III is like a former college classmate of Tim's.
Yeah, and I believe she even says Wardley was a classmate of yours, and then goes on to say his full name like after. Like, it's a really weird way of like explaining a very simple relationship.
Yeah.
But surprisingly, that is the one thing I did catch on my watch. For some reason, that was the one I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And then we immediately cut to Patty Lorraine is divorcing Wardley. it just as she said in her plan. And we revealed that like Tim at some point was like hired. Like there's actually like if this was a better movie, I would kind of like these quick cuts. Mm-hmm. Like I kind of like this cut to when they're in like they're meeting with a lawyer for the divorce, and like there's a lot of information part here about like, well, Tim, you're the driver, like what was that like? And so like we get all this information like, okay, this is when Tim, in between sweeping up at this bar, became the driver, started an affair with Patty Lorraine leaves Wardley. Like we see all those mechanisms that were put into place. Like there's kind of something there in terms of like efficient writing. I will say for this nearly 2-hour movie, for about 30 seconds, it's kind of like Chinatown. Patty Lorraine falsely accuses Wardley of being physically abusive and said, like, he would hit me if I didn't do drugs with him. And then I think Tim is supposed to kind of be the one being like, yeah, I supplied the drugs, so I know what she's saying is accurate. And, like, they're very, like, kind of trying to train her on like how to give the deposition and stuff like that. It gets like kind of meta for a second, like you have to act like you've been abused, which is anytime that's brought up in a movie where like a woman is lying about being abused, you kind of go like, I'm gonna pay attention to what this guy has to say about that issue in actual life from now on.
Well, why? What did Norman Mailer do?
Hey.
I only found out this episode. I'm just kicking rocks.
Yeah.
Also, he's dead. It's fine.
Yeah, he's dead. Everything's
Fuck him.
fine. Norman Mailer's dead. Thank fucking God. they're trying to rope Tim into, like, making shit up, too. Like, they want him to go further. And the lawyer's like, what you're saying isn't convincing. Like, what you're saying is, like, are you ready to take a beating for Patty Lorraine? It's like, oh, maybe Tim's really the one being abused here.
Yeah, here's where the movie kind of slows down for me a little bit.
A little bit, a lot of stuff happened.
No, yeah, that's like maybe it's too much. It was like information overload, which is saying something for this fucking movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it slows down like immediately once it hits the day 27 moment, which is about to happen, where we're suddenly back out of this flashback into the other flashback. After the trial, like Wardley Meeks comes up to Tim and like doesn't seem like that angry about everything, which is strange. And this is our first time, I think, meeting Wardley Meeks in person.
Yeah, we've never seen him in the film.
And he's got a weird voice. I don't even know how to describe it.
It's kind of like Kevin Spacey from House of Cards.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Just not an endorsement, obviously. But the vocal cadence is very similar.
But I think what he tries to say something here where he's like, he's confident that once Patty Lorraine runs out of divorce money, she'll be more difficult to control, and then she's just going to come back to me. And he says something like, Patty Lorraine and I, together again, will be able to give the wildest, craziest parties this republic here has ever seen. It's like, is this fucking Foghorn Leghorn? What the fuck is going on? And then immediately after that is then now it's day 27 since Patty Lorraine has left. Tim finally gets the courage to call Madeline, like they haven't spoken in all these years.
Wait, does he call her or does he go straight there?
He calls her first.
Okay.
Because on the phone is when she reveals
Right.
that that the children in the picture aren't actually hers, they're Mr. Regency's brother's kids. And he's like, why would he lie? And she says, because he's a liar. And it's like, again, it's one of those moments where it's like, we've all clocked, like, the moment you see Mr. Regency, you know what the fuck is up with him. Yeah. Like, but like, the movie is kind of revealing it, like, it's like in Fargo, when she meets with, Mike Yatakita, remember? And, like, he goes on that whole speech about how his wife died, and then when she finds out later that he was actually lying, like, that's what gives her the inspiration to go back and question William H. Macy again. Like, I think the movie thinks it's kind of dropping this here, being like, why would he lie about the children? And it's like, no, like, this makes perfect sense.
As Tim is exploring Madeline's new living arrangements with Mr. Regency.
Oh, this is this for me was the funniest fucking moment of the movie.
Do you want to say it?
I'll say
okay.
It. I got it. Because, like, all right, so, like, he goes over to her house. And he's kind of, like, just looking around. And there's, like, all these, like, pictures on the wall of Mr. Regency, like, in the military. And, like, from the get-go, it's goofy. There's needlepoint on the wall that says, revenge is a dish which people of taste eat cold. Which is just like, wow. And then... I'm sorry,
go ahead.
This is so fucking ridiculous. We see the very clear outline of a machete that is no longer on the wall. We see the outline of where a machete, Mr. Regency's Vietnam machete, once hung. And, like, it's like a cartoon shot. Like, it's like that episode of SpongeBob when they took the pictures off the walls so they could paint around them. Like, it's so obvious. And then, if that wasn't enough, like, underneath it is a picture from Vietnam of Mr. Regency. It looks like he's mid-machete swing. And he's, like, got, like, a crazed look in his eye, like, ah!
And he's holding, like, a big slab of meat or something, isn't he?
I thought he was holding the machete and was, like, trying to... It looked like he was coming at the cameraman. He might have been holding meat. Like, I was a little too focused on
He definitely
the
just killed something
eyes.
in the picture, or was about to.
Yeah. And it's like, boy, I wonder who cut that woman's head off. Like... It's just like, what the fuck is that? I mean, I swear, like, I had to pause the movie. I was laughing. Like, I had totally forgotten that happened, and I'm just dying. It is the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen. And again, you're like, this is, like, is this supposed to be a mystery at this point? Like, and then finally Madeline shows up. And they start talking. Do you want to say what she says?
You got this one. I want to give the reaction later.
Okay. So she talks up Mr. Regency's cruelty, but then also is like, Tim, you kind of sucked as a husband, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, why are you with Mr. Regency? He doesn't say Mr. Regency, but this is why I call him Mr. Regency, because Madeline says, Mr. Regency and I make out 5 times a night. That's why I call him Mr. 5.
What is that?
Oh, boy. Man, I wish I could assert my masculinity by making out with a woman 5 times a night. Like, that's how you know a relationship is working. When you make out 5 times a night.
And she gives him a note.
That's coming in a minute. She calls him Mr. 6 at the end of it, this conversation, for some reason. And then, like, tells him to take the letter, get out of the house, and she's like, but don't open it until you get home. But he doesn't go home, he goes to the beach.
Mm-hmm. Now, this is when I realized I recognized something from this movie. If you were on the early days of the internet, let's say like the late 2000s especially, then you're familiar with the, oh God, oh man, oh God, oh man, with the cameras.
I believe the clip is actually posted as, like, worst line delivery in film history.
Yeah, which it might be, actually. Like, some of those things are, like, you know, like clickbaity for the YouTube clicks, whatever. No, this one, that might be it. That might be the one. So Tim opens up the letter, and in the letter it says, my husband is having an affair with your wife. I don't think we should talk about it. Unless you're prepared to kill them. And then that's when he spit
music sting.
Yeah, just
dun dun.
That one I'm gonna put the clip here. I'm just gonna put the clip here again. I'm probably opening up the episode with that. I'm putting it back here.
Yeah. No, you you have to open it with the trailer for this movie. Have you seen the trailer for this movie?
Absolutely not, but I will now.
Okay, all right. Sorry, I'm bringing it up.
No, it's
now
fine. Yeah,
like,
it.
Because I need to know Diego's reaction. So the trailer for Tough Guys Don't Dance is Norman Mailer talking directly to the camera, and he's like, a screening just ended of my new motion picture, Tough Guys Don't Dance, and I have some of the comment cards here from the audience, and it's like, first one he's like, brilliant, innovative, and then he like throws it away, and the next one he's like, the worst film I've ever seen. And so it's him like alternating between people saying like, this is like an interesting movie, and others going like, this is some of the worst shit I've ever seen. And then it shows some clips from the movie, and then it ends with Norman Mailer reading like the last card, and the last comment says, it goes, the devil made this picture, and then Norman Mailer winks at the camera.
That's pretty
kind of an amazing film.
Did he think he was like Alfred Hitchcock or something?
I just think he just thought he was brilliant at everything he did. Like, it's white guy author syndrome.
Okay,
like,
yeah.
I mean, he won a Pulitzer. Like, if I won a Pulitzer, I would think, like, I have to be doing something right. Like, at the very least.
Okay, wow, okay. I'm definitely putting that at the beginning then. All right, now there's a follow-up scene after...
Oh, wait. This is officially the halfway point of the movie.
All right, let's start speedrunning it a little bit, but I have to bring up this next scene.
We're not going to be able to speedrun this. I apologize.
well, Tim goes to a bar, and some greaser dude shows up at the bar next to him. Puts his beer down on the table, and he's like, hey, your day is near. And then some woman goes up, starts talking to Tim, and then that dude leaves. Now, I don't know if you noticed this, but when that greaser dude leaves, he picks up a bottle that was already there and not the beer that he came with. It's so perfect. I laughed so fucking hard.
That sums up the whole movie.
Yes.
The woman talks to him in between that, and I don't know who this woman is, but I think she's supposed to be the junkie lady from the scene earlier, who's also has like one line in that scene and then disappears, but it could just be a completely original movie. She says an insane line where she says, "You and I are special Looney Tunes because we never fucked each other." And then that's it. That line leads to nothing.
Yeah, that character's not in the rest of the film.
It has nothing to do with the rest of the film. Tim gets a call at the bar from Spider. Who, this is the first time we're given Spider's name. He's one of the guys from the seance, right?
Yeah, he's the guy who's screaming at the table.
Yeah, so it's Spider. And again, like, I couldn't keep track of some of these characters. Like, I was going out of my mind.
Oh yeah, no, that's why I have the
like
Wikipedia open for this one.
Yeah. And Tim gets a call from Spider, and he says, "You're being set up for murder." And then he looks out the window, and he sees Spider is calling from a car, and he's in a car with Wardley Meeks III, which then drives off. And Tim, like, runs out there, and immediately behind them, Mr. Regency shows up and picks up Tim. And, like, Mr. Regency starts grilling him about Jessica, and reveals that, like, if Pangborn shot himself, someone had to have, like, driven the car afterwards, because they think the car was, like, seen somewhere else or something. I don't fucking know. And then Mr. Regency's like, if Jessica's body turns up, like, you might be in trouble. And we know that Tim has the head in the marijuana hole. I think all this is happening on day 27, if I remember correctly. Like, this is all like this is all the day before Lawrence Tierney showed up.
And you know what? To be fair, if all this happened the day before Lawrence Tierney showed up at my house too, I would look exactly like Tim walking down those stairs.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be honest. This is the most positive thing I'm going to say in this movie. When Mr. Regency picks up Tim and they're in the car and there's a split diopter, it's a pretty good split diopter.
Yeah, it looks fine. Someone on set knew what they were doing.
Congratulations to that person.
Mr. Regency brings Tim back to the police station for a drink. He's like, 7 nights ago, we have deep information that Patty Lorraine was in Santa Barbara with Wardley Meeks III. They had dinner with Jessica and Lonnie Pangborn. They were planning a $2 million cocaine deal of some kind. I don't remember exactly how he says, like, he's got an informant, but we don't know who the informant is, right? Mm-hmm. Although I guess we're supposed to know at this point, because we know that Mr. Regency and Patty Lorraine are sleeping, at least according to Madeline. And so, like, and we know that Tim used to deal cocaine, so I think the implication is, like, Mr. Regency either thinks Tim is supplying the $2 million worth of cocaine, or Mr. Regency is trying to frame Tim for the cocaine situation. And they tell some dumb, long story about a serial killer who lived with his mother. And something violent happens at the end of that story, and Mr. Regency says something like, I like this story because I'm a law enforcement officer and it turns me on. And then Tim just leaves.
Most people would in that situation. To be fair.
Yeah. Now, so we immediately, we cut to Tim. He's going to his marijuana hole to find out whose head it is. Because, like, he mentions in voiceover, like, I looked at the head, I saw it was blonde hair, but, like, I didn't want to look. I didn't want to see who it was. Like, I was too scared to actually confirm that it was Jessica. So he's going back now because he wants to confirm it, but also take the head. Now, remember, he got picked up from the bar by Mr. Regency. So I don't know how he got his car and then to the marijuana hole so quickly. But whatever. But also, he suddenly has a dog now.
Yeah, that threw me the fuck off. Like,
it's like this dog. There's like there hasn't even been a hint of this dog in this movie. Like there's not even like, oh, he's got like a collar on the wall or something. Like,
now, let's
no.
say you were to watch this on YouTube on a DVD rip of some kind or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes if you stumble upon stuff like that, it's like, oh, well, I guess they spliced this movie up or something. I don't know, fuck, right?
Yeah, like we clearly they missed something when they were uploading.
Yeah, or like sometimes YouTube will upload, or people upload clips to YouTube and they'll like chop them up to avoid like getting flagged or something like that. So I was like, did that happen? And no, that's just the way the movie works.
Yeah, it's how the fucking movie is.
Yep.
He goes to his marijuana hole, and not only does he find the one head, he finds another head. 2 blondes, and like we immediately kind of figure like, oh, it's Jessica and Patty Lorraine, like because they're the only 2 blondes in this fucking movie. Yeah. So somehow they've both been killed at separate times, and their heads put in the marijuana hole. On the way out, he runs into Wardley Meeks III's goons, and they attack him and they kill his dog. And Tim is so angry by his dog getting killed that he smashes up Wardley Meeks III's car. And then he takes the heads and goes home. And then day 28, I actually like that when we finally get to day 28 and the story kind of wraps back in on itself, I like that it's literally just the same scene again. Like they didn't try to like change it up in some way. They didn't do the same scene from another angle. It's literally the exact same scene of him coming down the stairs in the morning. I don't know why. I kind of like that. Like, I thought that was interesting.
I guess. I don't know.
Before that happens, so this happens before, he, like, wakes up to, like, a storm, but then goes back to sleep, and then when he wakes up, the storm has cleared up. I don't know why that was in this.
I don't know either. And this is where I'm going to say what you were saying earlier, like, with a better movie that could, like, have meaning applied to it, you know? Mm. But it...
Yeah, maybe, like, a passing storm, like, we're in the eye of the storm, maybe.
Yeah.
But nothing ever happens, like... And it's one thing, you could also be like, oh, maybe this is, like... Because we eventually cut to, like, bodies start getting hidden, like, get tossed out to sea, so, like, the storm could be like, oh, no, the bodies are going to wash up. But that doesn't happen until after the storm. So, I have no fucking clue, truly. Have no fucking clue. Yeah, so he goes down, it's Lawrence Tierney. He has finished telling his tale of woe. Tierney goes to investigate the heads. The first heads is Jessica's. He says it was cut off with a machete but was shot beforehand. The second was Patty Lorraine, but she was dead before the head was cut off, but probably shot in the heart because like there's no bullet hole in the head. But a different weapon was used on Patty Lorraine. And then Tierney, like, chastises Tim for being, like, too sensitive. He's like, you're too sensitive about this severed head business.
It's like, dude.
And then Tierney goes, and there's, like, a long sequence of Tierney going out to throw the heads into the ocean, which doesn't lead to anything, really.
No, we just see him do it.
Yeah, like, he doesn't get caught. Like, no one sees him doing it. It's just a long scene. So Tim goes to the airport. I guess that's where you go if you want answers. I guess.
I wasn't sure why he did that, and I thought I might have missed something, but I guess not.
I don't know. Maybe Lawrence Tierney told him to do it. Lawrence Tierney seems to be the only one who knows what to do, which is why he's the author surrogate. And the woman at the counter, and I guess because it's a small town, it makes sense that she would have this information. But she's like, oh, no, Jessica left for San Francisco by herself. She was escorted here by Mr. Regency. And he gets a call from Madeline. She says Mr. Regency is acting crazy. Tim finds Mr. Regency's cop car, like, abandoned by the side of the road as he's driving over to see her. And he finds a machete in the trunk, as if we needed to underline this machete business more. Like... and here's actually kind of a fun shot. While Tim is investigating the machete in the trunk, we get like an aerial shot of Wardley Meeks, like running over, like hunched over, like sneaking into the passenger side of Tim's car. I kind of like that shot.
I like the idea of it, but it is so like awkwardly stitched together that it's like, okay, he should have fucking seen him. Like all you had to do is move the camera to like the right a little bit and have it kind of cover the perspective of Wardley sneaking into the car. But it's really weird. It feels like it's missing like one or two pieces, which I guess since the rest of the movie feels like it's missing 100,000 pieces, that's an improvement. Yeah. But I don't know. I like the idea of it. It's just like it's all so goofy.
And it's probably the one moment Ryan O'Neal actually kind of does gives a good performance. Like when he runs back to his car, you kind of get you get to see, because they don't change that arrow view, but you can see him reacting to finding Wardley Meeks in his car and then getting in because Wardley Meeks has a gun. And without it's a nice simple shot, and it's kind of nuts when things get really simple and kind of wow, that was really concise.
Yeah. I mean, hey, maybe Norman Mailer just needed to make uncomplicated films.
Maybe.
I'm not going to give that son of a bitch any credit. I'm just saying.
Yeah. But you never know. Maybe it was someone else's suggestion to shoot this.
Oh, this. Yeah. Who's cinematographer? Yeah. Mike Moyer and John Bailey.
Yeah, two cinematographers.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's always a good sign.
Oh, John Bailey worked with Lawrence Kasdan, Paul Schrader, Michael Apted. So, cool stuff.
Hey, cool. But all right, what the fuck happens then? Okay.
They go to the beach.
Well, yeah, but Wardley Meeks reveals that he has killed his own henchmen, and they go to the beach, and Wardley Meeks makes comments about it. This is where the Pilgrims actually landed first before going to Plymouth Rock.
Feels like he has these ideas of America that he's.
We live in a society.
Well, because earlier when Isabella Rossellini is like, this crazy's making me this country's making me crazy. This crazy's making me country, or whatever, and it's stuffed away in here without any greater purpose other than I got a lot of ideas about the world. I got ideas about the society.
Mm-hmm. I guess if there's anything to take away from this, if there's any positive things to say about Norman Mailer, is that he seems like a well-read person, but he just doesn't know how to make it congeal into anything coherent in a film. And this is when I wrote in my notes in all caps, holy shit, there are 30 minutes left. But at least things kind of do speed up going into this last stretch. I have no idea what's going on though with Wardley Meeks III and Tim at the beach. They're in a weird standoff and he's making him walk. They're talking. I don't know what any of that means. This is when I basically just kind of gave up.
Yeah, I assumed that Wardley Meeks was the mastermind behind this, and he's not.
Mm-hmm. He's not, but he did play a part. He did play an important part.
He did. I don't fully understand it either. I will say, if we're talking about ideas that could work in a better film, a good one, when Wardley Meeks asks him, do you feel... he says it in a really complicated way, so I'm just going to streamline it. He says, do you feel that you would die better if you had your questions answered before you go into, that long good night? And then Tim says yes, and it's okay, there's, an idea there, you know? How do you, approach death in a story like this? How do you feel comfortable dying, you know? I don't know. It reminded me of Tenet, when Kenneth Branagh's like, how would you like to die? And then the protagonist says, old. You know, I was there's something to that.
What if Wardley Meeks III went, I'm the protagonist?
This movie should be played in reverse.
I want to see what Nolan might actually be able to do something with the weird structure of this movie.
Wardley Meeks would be like, oh, don't you see? It's a classic temporal pincer movement.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I understood the ending of this about as much as I understood the ending of Tenet.
No, Tenet makes sense.
Tenet's fun. I've watched it twice now, and I still just kind of don't know what's happening by the end.
Oh, by the end, yeah, I don't know, but
yeah,
I don't know.
It's all that last chunk, and I wish I understood it, because that's kind of the thing. I really enjoy that movie, and then right then I'm I don't know what's happening, and now I don't know how to feel about any of it. And but here's the thing. Like, I'm talking about how like both of these movies are like Tenet and Tough Guys Don't Dance are both confusing movies, and I also brought up Zack Snyder's films, but like Tenet has stuff in it where it's like I want to put in the effort to try and figure this out. You know, like I feel like it would be worth it. And Nolan in the past for me has proven that it's worth it to kind of put in the effort. Sometimes we're like a mix of like his style of storytelling and also sometimes just plain old sloppy storytelling. Whereas I do not know how worth it is to figure out what is going on in Tough Guys Don't Dance.
Yeah, I mean that's really the problem. Not even just like the whole Norman Mailer of it on, like, but like there's really nothing here. There's too much here, and it becomes nothing.
I guess if you're looking at two opposite sides of a grading curve, where it's like Nolan on one end, like worth figuring out, Tough Guys Don't Dance, not worth figuring it out. And then, like, all of Zack Snyder's films are in the middle. If that's how you want to picture it. In my mind. Anyway. But, hey, this is when Wardley Meeks III reveals the whole plot. Take it away, Diego.
I don't even know where to begin explaining it.
Do you want to try?
No.
All right.
Only because we've been explaining this movie pretty well considering what it's got going on.
Yes.
And I still don't feel that I have a better grasp on it.
This is the product of 4 hours of my life trying to untangle this. So here's what I think happened. Lonnie Pangborn was going to flee with the $2 million. And it's $2 million of Wardley Meeks III's money for the cocaine. And Wardley Meeks, I mean, Lonnie Pangborn's kind of like the first time he has stood up for himself, and Jessica shot him. So Jessica's the one who killed Lonnie Pangborn. She calls Wardley, claiming it was a suicide. When Wardley hangs up, we see that Patty Lorraine was listening in on the other side, and she forces Wardley Meeks III to go get her. This is the moment where we kind of go like, oh, Patty Lorraine has been orchestrating all of this. And, like, Wardley Meeks III isn't doing too hot with this stuff. This whole film, he's kind of been, like, a tough guy. At least he looks like one. Like, he's been, like, doing some, like, tough guy shit for most of the movie at this point. Although he is Lonnie Pangborn's secret gay lover. Not that gay people can't be tough, but I feel like in the world of this film...
It's a shock to the system in this film.
Yeah, but now we see Wardley Meeks is kind of, he lives up to his name. He's very meek. And he's like, he says a great line. He's like, I am so wrong for this kind of imbroglio. So he goes to pick her up, but it turns out Patty Lorraine gave Wardley Meeks III, intentionally gave him the wrong directions. Instead, Patty Lorraine called Mr. Regency, and they went to go get Jessica. As a group, they take the car with Pangborn's body to the bar. Jessica kind of gets intimate with Mr. Regency as they're driving, because I guess all women are like floozies in this universe.
Yeah. What? Hang on, because there's a line that Patty says, like, you'll wipe the floor with horrors or something like that later.
I guess.
I don't know. There's a
lot
lot
of talk
horror
of,
talk in this.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk of dead sex workers in this movie.
It's unfortunate.
It's not great.
There's also a lot of homophobic slurs in the first half, at least.
Oh, yes. I have cut down on a lot of what was said.
Yeah.
And I will state right now, the worst line in this movie has yet to be spoken.
I might have shut it out from my brain just because, like you, the back half of this movie is just so much, it becomes overwhelming.
And it might be subjective, but I think it's pretty bad. Right. So we'll get to it. When they finally meet up, Jessica hands over the $2 million, but she threatens to turn everyone in if she doesn't get the cocaine, which I don't know what that sort of plan is. So Patty Lorraine shoots her in the head. And that's when they go and place the head in Tim's marijuana hole. Spider and the other guy go to Wardley Meeks III. They reveal they were roped in by Mr. Regency to get rid of Jessica's body. And like they're doing it because there's like, because Spider's like I saw Patty Lorraine dead with no head. Like we're trying to avoid the prophecy. There's some talk of that, and that's when they show Jessica's body with no head, which is like one of the. It's just off-putting. Like, what did they have her encased in? I forgot what they said.
Oh God, I don't even know.
It looks like a. Whatever it is, it's kind of like emulating like a marble statue, you know, which is like she's been turned into like a literal object at this point. Her dead, naked corpse, and so Wardley Meeks III then has a great line, a great series of lines, where he's talking to these guys and he goes, "Lonnie is dead. Jessica is dismembered. Patty Lorraine is off on some sort of toot. And I'm about to go into business with you two unspeakable sleazos."
What a performance.
Unspeakable sleazos.
You know what? In hindsight, he might be my favorite character in the movie.
I kind of do like Wardley Meeks III.
Yeah.
Like it's such a wild character. And he says, "I know I am out of my mind, but I've never felt more alive." Which kind of maybe harkens back to like the death is a celebration line from Beginning. And there's another line later that kind of doubles down on that. But I don't know, but like Wardley Meeks, he's gone from meek and now like it's kind of implying like this is the first time in his whole life, despite being a rich boy, that like he's ever felt in control of his life. Now that he has this one thing over Patty Lorraine. Wardley Meeks confronts Patty Lorraine and they argue, he shoots her. And then they cut off her head with the intent on framing Tim. And I guess they put the head in the marijuana hole not knowing Jessica's head. No, because those guys put that head there. Or no, did they? I don't know.
No, the guys that Meeks hired didn't know that. It was Regency and Patty Lorraine that did. Now Patty Lorraine's dead, only Regency does. And I guess Wardley Meeks? Because how else would he have known where to put the head?
Well, maybe they just all know about the marijuana hole.
You know, everyone's favorite spot in town. The marijuana hole. The
secret marijuana hole, which everyone knows about. Yeah. And all this was like a plan to, of course, frame Tim. Whatever.
Why did they want to frame him in the first place?
I mean, everyone's kind of got a beef with Tim, you know? Like, everyone's... and then we're back to them sitting together on the beach. And Wardley Meeks has a line where he's like, "There is so much pleasure in shooting people." They have another long, boring conversation. I have no idea what the substance of it is. But at the end of the talk, Wardley Meeks shoots himself.
Not only did he shoot himself, he asks Tim to put his arm around him. Oh, and then he shoots himself, like, in the heart or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, I guess that's a way to kill yourself. I don't know. I'm just so used to, like, seeing in movies, like, you know, the headshot. It seems a little more efficient.
Also, the gun, like, it's one of those things where, like, Norman Mailer, for as tough a guy he wants to portray himself as through his work, seems to not know how what guns sound like. Like, it doesn't... We hear the bullet sound, but we don't hear it ever hitting anything. You know? Like, it's being fired into sand all the time, and we just hear the bullet. We don't hear the sand, and we definitely don't hear it piercing Wardley Meeks III's heart. After all this, we end up back at Tim's house. So Tim, Madeline, Mr. Regency now dressed up in his Green Beret uniform, and Lawrence Tierney are all at Tim's house. Mr. Regency is, like, out of his mind. I think what's being implied here is that, like, Jessica's death has kind of driven Mr. Regency insane, because he actually kind of liked Jessica. And, because, like, when he's, like, having his, like, freak out, he's, like, flashing back to her, like, dead body. So it's like, oh, this guy wasn't as tough as we thought he was either. he was upset by a woman's death. He says Madeline is the woman he inherited, which is such a gross line.
Yeah.
Miss Regency reveals he's the one who put blood in Tim's Jeep because he wanted to frame him for wasting like half of Madeline's life or something ridiculous like that. Then Tim reveals Patty Lorraine is dead. Mr. Regency like goes like full freak out and has a stroke.
Now I have to say something here. Mr. Regency, when he's like, this is the film's full-on reveal of his monstrous nature.
Yeah.
He kind of has been acting the same way the entire film.
Yeah, he's not acting any different. Yeah. He is this speed the whole movie. And according to that picture, he's been this way since Vietnam.
Oh, yeah, no, he's done war crimes. There's no chance this man hasn't murdered, like, men, women, and children, civilians.
Yeah, it's like, it's amazing this hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Like, it took this long for this to happen. All right. Here comes the worst line in the movie. Mr. Regency is now in a bed upstairs in Tim's house. He is he's like half paralyzed from the stroke. He's all fucked up, and Madeline is by his bedside, and they're kind of arguing. And I'm gonna kind of imitate what he sounded like. I'm not trying to like put a voice on it, but I kind of have to. So it's them going back and forth. He goes, "I made you come 16 times in a night." Which, like, first, like, what? like, I don't want to put my cards on the table.
Oh, what? Not everyone can do that?
Not only that, I have not gotten close to that number, so just gonna throw that there. And she goes, "Not one of them was good." And that's when he goes, and this is, I think, the line of the movie, "That's because you've got no womb." And it's just like, oh my God. And we just immediately cut to Lawrence Tierney and Tim, like, in the hallway, just listening to this. And Lawrence Tierney's like, "Well, we gotta kill him. I'll do it, since you're too much of a pussy." Like, he basically says it, like, just one more time. Says it. But then we hear a gunshot, and Madeline has killed Mr. Regency. And we just cut to Tim and Lawrence Tierney just throwing his body into the ocean with the other bodies.
To which Tim also says, "You know, I'm taking to this activity more than I thought I would." And it's like, whoa.
Yeah, but Lawrence Tierney says, this might be the cure for cancer."
Yeah, dumping bodies into the ocean.
Killing people and get rid of bodies. Which, I mean, look, there might be something there to, like, you know, like, if you go through a traumatic experience or, like, anything, like, you know, let's say you woke up one morning not realizing you were going to kill someone with a machete. But that shit happens. It can give your body, like, a weird rush that could be mistaken for, like, positive endorphins, right? Like, they say that happens to people. Even, like, people that aren't necessarily violent murderers. But it's so weird that it's, like, a recurring thing in this movie. It's almost like trying to be like, this is the natural state of things.
Sorry. It's just... Fuck this movie.
Like, and this is one of those movies where if I didn't know more about Norma Mailer, I would be asking myself, like, is this a movie about men who hate women, or is this a movie that hates women? Like, it's hard to tell. Also, for some fucking reason, Pomp and Circumstance starts playing. Which is the song they usually play at, like, graduations. Why?
Because he's graduating from becoming a pussy, and now he's a man. I don't know.
Yes.
That was disgusting what I just said. I apologize. But, like...
I mean, hey, that's what the movie might be saying.
I know. But now...
Nothing's more disgusting
now Tim and
what...
Isabella Rossellini can live happily ever after with the money that...
Yeah, we cut to them a little bit later, and, like, they're all, like, they're together happy, and she's like... This is such a weird scene. Like, they pull up to a rich house, and Tim's like, hey, where are we going? And it's like, first of all, clearly to this house, idiot. But then second of all, she's like, oh, this is our house. I bought it with $2 million I found in Mr. Regency's closet. And it's like, everything is very white. And she, like, goes in. She's, like, all happy. She has a terrible haircut, though.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's about. And, like, Tim slowly shuts the door. And it, like, holds on this shot for a long time of the closed door. And it's actually kind of neat. We can kind of see a silhouette through the door. And then we hear that Jessica's laugh from earlier. Like, fade to black, tough guys don't dance.
Anyways, I'm giving this 5 stars in Letterboxd.
Is the ending of this movie implying that Madeline was like the secret true femme fatale the whole time?
No, see, what I got from it was that he's always going to be haunted. Because he hates women.
I guess that's what it is.
Sorry, it's... thank you for suggesting this movie, honest to God. Because it is fucking hysterical.
Yeah, I think this should be more popular in, like, so bad it's good circles, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
like,
it's already, like, almost there. Just because of the history of the internet and that one scene, which we all know, even if we didn't know it. You know? Like, it's part of, like, the cultural zeitgeist now. Maybe this podcast will put it over the edge.
Maybe, yeah, it's going to be...
Yes, you're welcome, world.
Here's the thing, if it happens at a later date, if it happens next week, if it happens 5 years from now, it was entirely because of us. We started that ball rolling.
Yep. You're welcome.
You're welcome, world.
That was
wow.
Tough guys can't dance. Don't dance.
Don't dance. They don't dance.
It's might honest to God be the worst film we've ever talked about.
Yeah, in terms of, like, what it might be saying about the world, like, it's either this or the Lorax. But... We
haven't talked about the Lorax, though.
Well,
we brought it up. We haven't done an episode.
I gotta be honest, like, this I came out of this, like how they discovered throwing bodies into a river, like, actually rejuvenated them. Watching this kind of rejuvenated me a little bit. In a weird, like, holy shit, I did not know, like, my brain could go in these directions while watching a movie. I didn't know I could be stretched like this. Whereas our previous episode, The Book of Henry, just left me filled entirely with hate.
Yeah, this totally had the opposite effect.
It's like this. This overtly has everything I had a problem with in Book of Henry, but worse. But was more engaging for that reason.
I think it commits more. Like, the direction is just off kilter enough. Whereas, like, Book of Henry, I'm like, this feels gross. Yeah. And this is also gross, but it's also detached enough from reality that it can be very, very engaging to watch.
I think at least Norman Mailer understood that he hated women.
I don't know if that's a positive we can end on.
I'm not saying it is, but I think that Colin Trevorrow doesn't think that.
Thank Francis Ford Coppola for producing this with Golan and Globus.
Yeah. I wonder how much money he made off of this is going to go to Megalopolis.
Maybe a couple. No, actually, no. They all lost money on this movie. It cost $5 to $10 million, and its box office intake was $343,000.
Roger Ebert gave it 2.5 stars.
You know what? It's a lot higher than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
I'm seeing some comparisons to, like, Russ Meyer movies.
Oh, no, I can't go there.
I don't either. Also, because Faster Pussycat Kill Kill is, like, actually, like, a good movie.
Yeah. Like, Russ Meyer definitely had, like, a weird relationship with women, but, he also clearly did like women, you know? Like...
Yeah, I mean... I think it's safe to say he was also clearly a horn dog.
Oh, yeah. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being a horn dog, really.
Especially, like, right now, the big discourse is, like, hey, we're, like, losing sex in movies, you know?
Yeah.
Russ Meyer, this one's for you. No, but, yeah, there's a lot of interesting writing out on this film that I'm just discovering now because of this episode. So, sincerely, thank you for recommending this one, because I think we're going to talk about significantly better films in the future. I feel like I already have like a handle on the discussions about them. This one is like a whole other world I get to explore now.
Yeah. And it might, I mean, like I said, I'm looking at the Letterboxd right now, and like the second most popular review, now mind you, it only has 92 likes, but it's a 4-star review of the movie. So someone got something out of it.
I'm giving it 5 stars when this episode goes up. It's a 5-star experience, not a 5-star movie.
Yeah. I think it's going to be one of those movies where like I hit the like but give it no star rating. Like, which is what I do with movies that are like bad but like I got something out of.
That's probably better to do.
Mm-hmm.
I just, my brain doesn't work anymore, so I'm not going to do that.
I should say before I forget, I forgot to bring it up when we talked about it, but during the Oh God, Oh Man scene, you can find a video of Norman Mailer talking about that scene in the movie, and he basically talks about how everyone wanted him to cut that scene. He was like, Ryan O'Neal begged me to cut it. The producers told me to cut it. My editor begged me to cut it, and I refused. And he's like, I realized later, that was kind of a bad scene. So like, he at least noticed that. And he's like, so Ryan O'Neal's like mad at me for leaving it in because he thinks it makes him look bad, which it definitely does. And he's like, but he goes, that scene, it is a disaster. It's the only disaster in the film. So he stands by the rest of it.
Okay, well, good for him. You know what? Let me end, unless you have anything else you want to say about the movie.
I think I'm good.
Okay.
I think I've said
Then I will read
the
excerpt from Roger Ebert's 2.5-star review.
Okay.
He said, "What is strange is that Tough Guys Don't Dance leaves me with such vivid memories of its times and places, its feelings and weathers, and yet leaves me so completely indifferent to its plot. Watching the film, I laughed a good deal." You know what? It's the first time we've agreed with him in a while. I think, that's safe to say. Good on you, Ebert.
Hey, Vinegar Syndrome, like just last year, put this out on Blu-ray.
Instant purchase. I am buying it right now.
Yeah, does Vinegar Syndrome do sales? Because like I might save it for then.
But... Oh, I'm seeing their prices now. Yeah, I'm gonna wait for a sale.
Yeah,
I'm not making money.
That's just what home media is gonna be like for the future, for the time being.
I know.
But hey, that was Tough Guys Don't Dance.
Yeah. If you enjoyed this episode, go watch the movie, however you can. Matt, thank you so much for joining me. Where can the people find you?
I don't know if I feel comfortable telling people to go see it, but I mean, if watch it if you're man enough.
No.
Tough Guys don't not watch Tough Guys Don't Dance. I don't fucking know. Like,
real men watch Tough Guys Don't Dance.
What else has Robert Towne just been cashing in on Chinatown for like his whole life?
Probably, yeah. What else has he done?
He wrote like The Last Detail and like Shampoo and shit.
Oh, he wrote the first 2 Mission Impossibles.
Yeah, but like every time you read about the other stuff he writes, there's always stories about like how it was rewritten, like that like he turned in scripts no one could really make sense of and then they were rewritten. And like Mission Impossible famously like had an ending that like no one understood.
Yeah.
And like they just decided, and then like last minute they were like, just make it a helicopter chase.
Which is the correct choice for that first movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Uncredited work on Crimson Tide. Well, a bunch of fucking people did uncredited work on Crimson Tide.
Yeah, Tarantino did uncredited work on Crimson Tide.
That's not an awards contender, but I would love to fucking talk about Crimson Tide.
I would love to talk about Crimson Tide, too.
That's a fucking...
We could just do a whole series on submarine movies, because I fucking love submarine movies.
Okay. Or, then Hunt for Red October. Yeah, there's stuff there.
Hunt for Red October, Ice Station Zebra.
Oh, yeah, I only saw that recently.
Run Silent, Run Deep. We could sneak in fucking Wrath-a-Con because that's kind of a submarine movie in space.
But before we talk about what we're actually gonna do next, or I'll do that instead, and then you can do your plugs. We're doing Cloud Atlas next.
Yes.
You all know Cloud Atlas, right?
Yeah. And what's crazy about Cloud Atlas, just like not to give away anything, is that it's 6 stories simultaneously, right? Across what I think adds up to be like 1,000 years. Like,
yeah, it's literal generations.
Generations upon generations. Interwoven together, told over 3 hours. It is significantly more coherent than Tough Guys Don't Dance.
Yeah, if you want to understand, like, editing, be sure to check out our episode on, check out Cloud Atlas, and then come check out our episode after that. There you go.
Yes.
All right, Matt, where can the people find you?
I'm at EmperorOTN1 at Twitter.com, and I might be doing other stuff, but I'll announce it on Twitter.
All right, and you can find me at the Diego Creswell. Check out the Waffle Press on Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, and Patreon, where you can get early access to hopefully the Cloud Atlas episode. I delayed Book of Henry so we can keep getting episodes out early. So you'll have a little something there. Back to doing a little just casual.
Is Book of Henry
writing.
as of right now? Book of Henry isn't out. Is that coming out next?
Book of Henry is coming out before this one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Book of Henry will be out before this one. That's what I was saying. So.
If you want more positivity,
no.
Like...
Let's see. What am I doing? I still intend
I'm still
on writing about
Diego.
Ted Lasso.
It's been like 3 weeks since the Book of Henry episode. I'm still texting Diego with problems I had with that fucking movie.
Yeah. It's not great. It's not great.
Not good. Not good at all.
Unlike this
Sorry
film.
about interrupting your Ted Lasso.
No. I just intend on writing about Ted Lasso because the new season's coming out eventually. Let's see what else. Peacemaker. I liked Peacemaker a lot. I wrote about it. I wrote about why I liked it a lot, and you should all check it out. That and the show. Okay. Thanks everyone. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We have been professionally unprofessional.
Bye. Bolo!
Giant death orgy with lots of maniacs. Oh, man. Oh, God. Oh, man.
Something rotten has happened.
One of the best and most original films I've ever seen.
It was brilliant.
One of the worst ever. My grandmother could do better.
I agree. You agree on what?
Excellent, crazy entertainment. Very funny. Gross. Sleazy. Garbage.
It was no small job.
Quick turns of plot. Enjoyed having to think. Whoever wrote this has never read a good book.
You think it's simple? Well, here, go ahead. You pull the trigger.
You're being set up.
Set up for what?
Murder one.
I look at me and see a crude man. I look at you and see a sitting duck. That guy is no chief of police.
I want to see you die. I want to make you crazy.
Don't ask me how I know. My husband, he's having an affair with your wife.
Both sides of my nature are obliged to express themselves. The enforcer and the maniac. And who do we have the honor of addressing? You never met the maniac.
Ryan O'Neal, Isabella Rossellini, Wings Hauser.
The devil made this picture.
In Norman Mailer's Tough Guys Don't Dance.